Justice League vs Suicide Squad issue 1, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Jason Fabok, which is great art, first of all. The main thing I want to take away from this, or the thing that I took away that I wanted to say, is this feels like a DC event.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A feeling that I've not really had probably my entire time reading single issue comics. Like, I feel like this feels like an event that might have been around in the mid-2000s kind of thing.
So you didn't read Infinite Crisis as it was happening?
No, as it was happening, yeah. I read it in trade later, yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
But that's kind of what this feels like to me. Not that specifically, but, you know, like, that kind of era.
I mean, Final Crisis was a big thing, but it didn't feel like an event as just much as Grant Morrison playing around. Here, it feels like there's going to be impacts all throughout DC, and that's good.
And there was references to various books. I mean, I actually almost wish it had a thing in the front saying, read Batman first, because there was a small mention. It wasn't a big spoiler, but it was kind of like, oh man, I could have read that first. And it would.
I did the same, because obviously you get excited, because event, want to dig right into that.
Yep.
And then you get to it, it's like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Batman's just there. Why didn't I do that first?
Yeah, but there's no way of knowing, you know?
That's not.
So, unless they just tell you at the start, read Batman first.
Well, they sometimes do. They say,
Yeah.
this is after.
Yeah.
Well, and they did that with Rebirth, as they said, don't read this until...
But that was almost weird, though, because that, like, people thought that was a jumping on point, so that confused them, thinking they had to go read other stuff. Whereas here, it would have been like, don't read this before Batman if you're reading Batman. I feel they should always emphasise that. Always say, if you're reading this series, read that first. This
is where a recap page would come in handy, and it kind of says what everyone's been up to.
I would love a recap page in my
think
books.
it doesn't even need to say, read this first. Just say, this takes place after. Batman 30.
Yeah, sure.
So then, you know, if you're reading it, go read it.
Yeah.
I would like recap pages just across the board, though.
Yeah. That's when I started reading comics as a kid. Marvel had really good ones, and it listed, like, in the X-Men. That's how I got to know the X-Men as a kid, was because of the recap pages.
I think they still do them in Marvel.
They do, yeah.
That's the one thing that I'll give them props for over DC right now, is that I wish we had recap pages, because as much as I do remember, for the most part, it would just be nice to have a paragraph that just summed it up for me, and I could just be like, right.
I feel like I need it most for the monthly books.
Monthlies.
For the single shipping
Well,
ones.
we're conditioned now for the twice monthlies.
Yeah.
So, which I remember those so much easier because they're fresh.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say, I do like them in the Star Wars books, because they always put the recap in the crawl.
Yeah.
Well, they basically... I wonder if they almost just... I mean, obviously it's Marvel, so they do it anyway, but see, if they didn't, I would almost argue that the Star Wars books do it just so they've got an excuse to have the crawl.
Yeah, because that way...
Unless it's a Rogue One book and it's not there at all.
No, if it's a Rogue One book, the title comes in like 5 pages into the book.
To be fair, that happens in a lot of books anyway.
It does, but my joke still works, damn it.
Anyways, Justice League Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I liked it a lot.
Josh Williamson is... And I don't want to throw this around because he's my favorite writer probably of all time of Jeff Johns, but this was very Johnsian as it unfolded with the use of basically unknown villains, because some of these villains that pop up I'm not familiar with.
So we're talking about the team that's revealed at the end, because the book opens with who at the time is a mystery person walking into this secure, worst of the worst prison, and he seems to have like almost to use a Marvel reference here, like Kilgrave type powers, where he's just telling people to do things. He makes two guys shoot each other, and we find out it's Maxwell Lord. So we're talking about the team that he's broken out at the end of the issue, who obviously is going to be set up as the villains for the story. His team, I know Johnny Sorrow. Obviously, I know Lobo because Lobo's Lobo. I'm not particularly familiar with the rest of them.
Yeah, well, I know Emerald Empress because of Legion.
Okay, cool. That's where she's from.
And then Rustam, that one was new to me, but apparently he was around in early Justice Society stuff.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I wonder if the one that we don't know, is that the arch enemy of Cold Snap?
Does have a fire sword.
He just... At first I thought it was meant to be like Azrael or something. A different redesign. I was like, okay. And then, when we had the preview, like, Gatefold stuff in the last couple of weeks. And then we actually got this. It's like, oh, okay, that's who he is.
I will say this: I appreciate all the titles for everyone throughout the first issue. Just to, even though I know most of obviously the main characters, but it's just
nice for any
ones.
newcomers, isn't it?
Yeah. Especially
and they're fun to read because it kind of shows Williamson's sense of humor about things.
true, yeah, because Harley's whole thing about you know her is our like
Yeah.
subheading.
Yeah. And it also means that it doesn't feel out of place when you get to this last page and they're just
Yeah.
there.
Especially even for Maxwell Lord, who we know very well. Like, he doesn't have any sort of distinct visual look to him. Like, we could turn that page and go, who's this? Like, because he's just a guy with regular haircut, you know? There's no... So we kind of need the name to let us know it's Maxwell Lord. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, that worked really well. Good humour throughout. Obviously, Batman's been finding out about Suicide Squad in his book for the past, few issues, arc or so. So it sets up the idea he's telling the rest of the Justice League. So they go and intercept because the squad are on this mission in some country to stop this, cult-like supervillain.
Yeah, from using an earthquake machine to destroy the island.
Super comic booky.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because after the Suicide Squad movie, I was hoping they didn't make it dark for dark's sake. And it did, and it felt really comic book like.
It did, but do you know my favourite moment of the whole Suicide Squad part of this was? I loved that he's making his big speech and then he just dies because Deadshot's get into position and he's taking him out with a sniper and it's just over.
Yeah.
And then Superman comes and saves his ass, and then it's basically about just the two teams kind of standing off against each other, and they get ready to fight. Amanda Waller gives the order for them to not be taken. So
I like how Deadshot's like, look, we don't want to do this. But god damn it, you're making us.
Yeah. Also, funniest moment of the book might be Simon making fun of the boomerangs, and then Captain Boomerang getting very upset about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Quality stuff.
Toys. He fights with toys. All right, cool.
It's even before Simon says anything. Boomerang was like, "I got a shot," and El Diablo's just like, "What? Really? You sure? This seems weird."
Yeah.
Nah. So it's getting the character voices pretty right, which is cool. Mm-hmm. And also, it's worth noting that this is probably set after Justice League as well, because Jessica's back on the team.
Yeah.
Because she was gone for a couple of issues, but she was back on the team this week. So, it's less of a spoiler on the Batman one, but it's still there. Still a bit of just slotting it into place where things align with each other, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not spoiling anything because you kind of always know Jessica will be back. She's pretty integral.
So I had a lot of fun. Obviously it wasn't a whole lot of plot. We set up who these broke out these new villains, or I say new villains, but this group of villains, and they're going to be the threat. Obviously Suicide Squad and Justice League have to fight before they team up because that's just superhero comics 101.
Yeah. Well, and I like their thing about them fighting too, and Deadshot's like, we shouldn't have a shot against you, but we have nothing to lose, literally. So they're gonna fight, kick, scrape. And just.
And I say, I like how they know that they're so underpowered in comparison, but they just literally don't have the choice.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Croc's maybe the only one who, and maybe Hellfire, maybe they have a chance to really.
Diablo.
Oh, sorry, Diablo. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But maybe they have a shot of taking on some of them, not all of them, but I think Croc stands a chance against some of them. Certainly.
Killer Frost.
Yeah, Frost is pretty good. Which, by the way, I'm actually really curious because obviously we know that she's going to end up in JLA at the end of this arc, but it's going to spin out of this.
Yeah, with Lobo too.
Yeah, with Lobo as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how their arcs in this story kind of come to
line
that.
up. Yeah.
But I also, as a longtime DC fan, like that they were getting Max Lord, who, if new readers are coming for this and they watch Supergirl, he's kind of like Lex Luthor light, which he's really not. Here, he's, super spy with telepathic, brain powers. And he even went back to the castle in the Swiss Alps.
In my headcanon for this, I am saying that his motivation for doing this and trying to destroy the world or whatever he's trying to do is because he found out Alex was gay and he's pissed that he doesn't have a shot, so he's went on a rampage. That's my headcanon.
Freed all these, forgotten villains. And that's what he calls them too. I was just looking back over. And then you have that great page where it kind of lists all of them in panel.
I'm pretty pumped for Johnny Sorrow. I really like him in JSA.
Yeah.
So
he's underutilized. Dr. Polaris too, who's underutilized. It's basically just Magneto, but more science-based.
And I'm hoping it does something different and maybe new with Lobo.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And we should say it's traditional Lobo, not emo Lobo.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Well, it's worth mentioning that obviously me and Matt specifically have a problem with how Harley's written in a lot of like present day comics, but I feel like even her dialogue in here was just the right amount because she's not the main character and she's not constantly in her faces, but she's there.
Well, we talked about this in the group with James, who's another big Harley fan, and he agreed with us that if they want to make her this fourth pillar, you kind of have to ramp down her solo series if she's going to be in Suicide Squad 2, because how is she doing the solo series stuff and being that zany Harley?
I feel like
if she's in Suicide Squad with a bomb in her neck.
I feel like her solo series, they should just officially say it's out of continuity.
Yeah.
Well, but I agree with that. It is two very different Harleys, and again, I'm the defender of that series.
And here it felt like Williamson melded them perfectly because she is a little bit zany and she has the one-liners, but she's still, with the squad and doing stuff because she doesn't want that bomb.
Also, I'll say this: I'm liking Killer Frost's look in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really distinct.
She's got that the girl in Catching Fire, the propaganda girl, has the
Jenna Malone's character.
Yeah.
Jenna Malone. Sorry.
The Forest.
Game of Thrones woman.
Marjorie Tyrell.
There you go. Her real name.
What's her name?
Natalie Dormer. Natalie Dormer.
There you go. Dormer.
We're all clicking at the same time.
She's got the Dormer haircut from Hunger Games, which looks cool. It sets her apart from other. I mean, you're not gonna look at Killer Frost and go, "Oh, that's Cold Snap."
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I like?
These cold villains need something to set them apart.
What I like as well, the way she uses her powers, because she stabs like one of the just random soldiers with her ice. I was gonna say icicle, which is it kind of is, but you know what I mean, like her frozen blade.
Yeah. Ice knife.
It reminded me of T-1000, the way like he would just like morph like a blade out of his hand, kind of thing, and I like that she uses her powers like that. That's pretty cool. So no, I had a lot of fun. Not much plot yet, but all the character interactions are good. Waller being the Wall and like opposing the Justice League, from the comms, I really like.
Yep.
Yeah, it's something that we've not had until recently, like in a long time.
You mean great continuity?
Sure.
I mean, that's all I can say because this when I finally got to read Batman, it felt like it was the same Waller. Like it didn't feel like it missed a beat, and I like that. I like when you're in a shared universe and characters act consistent.
It's just, that's one thing they've done great with Rebirth, is it feels like Superman in each book is still the same Superman. It feels like John or Damian in each book feels consistently Damian, or so on.
Harley is literally the only exception to this rule.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so problematic. And if Lee wants her to be that fourth pillar, you need to treat her like you do Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, who are all consistent.
Same, yeah.
Yeah. No, I am right there with you. So that's issue 1. Now, luckily, they're doing this weekly over the next 5 weeks, so we'll be talking about issue 2 next week.
I actually feel that's really important because this is just kind of the barest of setups, this issue. And like you say, not a lot of plot really happens. So if I had to wait a month for this, I feel like I'd be a lot more down on it than I am with it being just a week till I get the next week.
And I think the great thing about that as well is that it lets the events of the event slot into all the continuity across all the books really easily because they all know where their break-off point is, whereas normally it's going on for 6 months and all these different books have to start different arcs at different places within the
they gotta
event.
start spinning their wheels a little bit and going into a whole pattern.
Whereas here, going into February, events over, all the books can have the ramifications done, play out if it's relevant, and on you go.
Yeah.
But see, and unlike other companies when they start their events, I
don't
Marvel.
Feel like
I was ripped off.
Let's be honest. There's only one company we can be talking about here, Matt.
Yeah,
hey,
but
to be fair, Valiant do some events as well.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
but who reads Valiant, Connor?
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying they do.
Besides my friend
Chris
at the comic shop, and if you're listening, you dirty Valiant fan.
Hey,
I've read a few trades, but I've never got as far as the events.
Valiant has a very dedicated core group of fans. They really
do.
And power to them. Enjoy your enjoy your
Again,
books.
I don't want to bash anybody. Read what you like. We're pro DC, as you can tell by the entire show, right? But I'm just saying, when compared to like Civil War 2, which kicked off, I didn't feel like for $5 I got my money's worth, and this was I think $4.
Yeah.
I don't even know what my comics cost anymore. I just bring them to the register and go.
Yeah, you just don't look anymore. You just like, okay, I'll just pay it or whatever.
And
DC has us by the balls, basically.
But I felt like for whatever this price was, even though it was kind of light on story, the action and the character interactions.
It felt big. It felt important. It didn't
Yeah.
feel like I was reading something that was just here to sell me some extra issues. It felt like no,
Exactly.
you've got like these like tentpole things planned throughout the year, and this is the first one, and
Yep.
here we go.
And another credit to the weekly thing. We were just saying before we started, we were looking at what's coming out next week, and we saw there's an issue of Civil War 2.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of shocked that was still going on.
Sure, it won't surprise me.
please.
It won't surprise me if by the time Civil War 2 finishes in the comics, the actual Civil War 2 in America will have actually kicked off by that point.
I mean, if it gets delayed by a couple weeks, then yeah, definitely. But you know,
Dear.
but
yeah,
just
so,
like Suicide Squad, I think it's getting high marks from all of us, and we're very excited for this upcoming week to see what happens.
Yeah, it's gonna
because
be-
we know the Suicide Squad Justice League aren't going to fight very long. You know,
yeah, I see them maybe fighting for half the next issue, and then they'll have their coup d'etat.
Even if it's the full next issue and it's like right at the end where it changes, that
Yeah.
still leaves, what, 2/3 of the event.
Yeah, as long as there's fun banter in the middle of the fights where they're making fun of each other, you know what? I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because that can happen whilst Maxwell Lord and his team are up to something,
well,
you know?
I almost feel like Lord, because he is the chess master. I almost feel like he's orchestrated this from the start. Because this is
Oh
going
my
on.
god, I hope so much that like I mean, I don't think it's going to happen in this event, but let's just say for a minute they all get their memories back in this event for all the
Yeah.
continuity, right? I just hope that what Maxwell Lord's threatening them all, they all get their memories back, and then Wonder Woman just goes, "Hey, I snapped your neck once. I'll do it again."
That would be dark.
Oh god, it was so
Well,
good.
That's darker than
She-
just
she-
snapping the neck.
Well, he is, threatening the global population.
I
So-
just want a panel of Wonder Woman cracking her neck, just like and looking at
Yeah,
him.
or Lord looking at Wonder Woman and then touching his neck, like, ugh,
Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe they don't remember yet, but he just gets this quick sort of
Yeah.
feeling. He's like, I don't know why, but for some reason, whenever I
Yeah.
look at Wonder Woman, I get this pain in my neck.
Exactly. And I'm looking at all that team that he's assembled, and each of them represent a different section to me of the DC that's been lost in the continuity, like the 10-year,
And
So
Even though I only know half of them, I'm really excited to learn about the others and see
Yeah.
where they go
Yeah.
and whatnot. So.